Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huffer and Friends, a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and in relationships. And if this is something that has been helpful for you, please like, comment, or subscribe. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and our own YouTube channel. That's where you can find us. And the way this podcast works is every episode, you either have me, Cy Huffer, talking about a topic of the month, or you have me inviting one of my friends from around the world to come join us and talk through that topic as well. And so the reason I do that is because I have the best friends in the world. And I believe that my friends have made me flourish at life and relationships. So introducing you to my friends will help that happen for you as well. So I'm super excited today to introduce you to my friend, Paul Linge. Paul, you want to share a little bit about yourself and where you hail from and what you do?
Sure. It's great to see you, King Cyrus. We have lots of nicknames for Cy up here in Evansville, Indiana, where he spent some time with us, and we're so blessed to have Cy and Monica spend some time and some years with us here in Evansville. As I mentioned, my name is Paul Linge. I've been married to my wife, Emily, for 28, almost 29 years on May 11th. And Emily and I work with a ministry called Standing Stone Ministry. And Standing Stone is a nonprofit nationwide that provides no-cost shepherding care and coaching and companionship for Christian leaders, for pastors and their spouses, for leaders of Christian nonprofits and their spouses, as well as missionaries, to help prevent burnout and to help bear the burden, because it can be a lonely walk leading in ministry. So that's what Standing Stone does, and we're honored to serve as shepherds with Standing Stone. We have 3 children. Our oldest son, Michael, is 24 and is in his second year of law school at Indiana University. Our daughter, Anna, is about to graduate from the University of Evansville in marketing and global business. Then our youngest, Stephen, we call him Stevie, is a junior in high school. And we just took him on a couple of campus visits this week. And so that's the season of life that we're in. And just great to be a part of your podcast today, Cy.
That's awesome. I definitely am connected with a number of people that are looking at maybe going into ministry, are in ministry, are pastors at different churches, size churches all across the country. And so Monica and I have personally benefited from Standing Stone in the past. We've seen some different shepherds over the years. I don't know if you mentioned this, I can't remember or not, but the services you provide, the cost of those services, how is that paid? Because I believe that the way I understand it is those that are receiving the shepherding are not footing the bill. Is that correct?
That is correct. It is 100% free. There is no cost. So as Standing Stone Shepherds, we take on the responsibility to raise support for ourselves and for ministry expenses. And we love to bless our clients, couples, with date nights and gift cards and to send them out just because they need a break. We put together a package recently for a young couple, paid for a babysitter, got them some movie cards, and said, just go enjoy a date night, get some rest. And so, that's how it works. We raise the support, and the Standing Stone clients, anybody who calls us to receive shepherding care, doesn't pay a dime.
That's amazing. I just want to encourage you, if you are out in ministry and you don't have marriage counseling or shepherds or personal counseling, and cost has been an issue, this has been relieved through Standing Stone. So make sure you contact Paul, and then we'll give you information about that at the end of our time together. So tell a little bit this story, Paul, how we became friends, because we met. I was an intern at Crossroads Christian Church, and that's where we first met. That was kind of the start of our relationship, right?
That's right. Cy spent some time as an intern at Crossroads, working directly with Ken Idleman, who was our senior pastor at the time, and but did a lot with our adult ministries team as well. And eventually, when you finished your education at Ozark, Cy joined Crossroads staff for several years. But yeah, that's how we first met, was during your internship. at Crossroads, and I'm trying to remember what year that was. Si, do you recall
Yeah.
offhand?
I started, so I graduated Ozark 2012 in that May and started at Crossroads, that June, right after that, and was
Okay.
there for 4 years. So from 2012 to 2016.
Okay.
Four of
So
our,
good
we
years.
loved those years. The unique cast of characters that God had assembled at Crossroads at that time is near and dear to our hearts. And so, including you and Emily and your whole family. And so it was, man, it was fun getting to. I went there. I always tell people this. I went to go serve at Crossroads to learn from Ken. Little did I know that I was going to be introduced to a whole team of leaders that I was going to learn from, all of them. It wasn't just him. It was just this incredible group of leaders he had assembled for that season, and it has deeply formed who I am today, including you.
Well, those are great memories, great years, and we remember them fondly. Certainly remember you and Monica fondly during your time here, and it was just a. You're right. Sometimes you don't realize it when you're in those seasons.
Yeah.
Like you think, oh, this is going to last forever, or this will be replicable, and it's not always. And those were some very special years.
So
And you used a good phrase, a cast of characters. That's a very good way to describe us all.
so I remember, like, you were over adult ministries, but then you assembled some of us younger guys to hang out every week or so, and we started doing just like mentoring and just encouraging each other. I don't know what led you to do that. What was, what do you remember as part of that process of us getting together that way?
Yeah, I mean, one of the of several roles that I filled at Crossroads over the years was men's ministry, and I had a heart to see guys that were maybe a lap or two behind me around the track of life, and maybe early marriage, or some of the guys were single, I think, at the time, and probably most of you were in your early to mid 20s, and I just had a heart to share some of the things that I benefited from in my life and in my education, as a man, as a husband, as a father. And I just wanted to basically take what I had received, and I believe this is biblical, to receive, like we're better conduits than we are buckets, and to what I received to turn around and deliver to a group of younger guys. And so I think there was about 7 or 8 of you in that group, and we spent time together each week, in discussion, doing some fun stuff, eating breakfast, and a great group of guys.
Yeah, it was awesome. And one of the things I ask is just bring a fun story of us doing something crazy together we can reminisce about. I'm assuming I know what story you want to tell, but I'm not sure.
Well, there's several. There's several, Si. I won't tell the story of when you were an intern and were supposed to be Ken Idleman's editor of things that made its way into his sermon. And there was a certain video that you should have pulled, but it ended up traumatizing our entire congregation.
You won't tell that story.
I won't tell that story. That was, and it's always been fun to tease you about that one. But one of the fun things that we all did as a group of guys is there was a 5K, and I don't think you had run one before.
No.
But we all registered for this 5K, and it was a Halloween theme, and so we all decided that we were going to dress up in suits and ties. And so we did a little bit of shopping at our local Goodwill, bought some suits and ties, and we still have pictures from that event, and that was really fun. Just to do something silly and fun and quasi athletic together.
Well, it was we still have pictures of that from the what was the Channel 5 news crew or whatever that we were mimicking from Anchorman. Right. Yeah. We got some cheesy suits from Goodwill and everything, and it was not easy running in those suits, the 5K. It was not. But we did it. And it was right. It was my first 5K that I ran, and I would actually point back to that group and that 5K as an important moment for me, for my own physical health. Like, I had not really worked out in a while, since like honestly high school, since like freshman year, sophomore year of high school, when we had gym and when I was playing basketball, we had mandatory workouts. That had been gone for 7 years, basically. And so when we got into that group, you talked to us about the importance of physical health, and I had kind of let myself go at that time. And so, as you would call it, I had been shelving it, which is creating a shelf out of our stomach that we can set things on. That was Paul's term.
Right.
But it was a challenge for me to complete that 5K, and that was actually a turning point of like then running a 10K and a half marathon and continuing to pursue health. After that came because of you and you initiating that in us. So thank you for that. I've been on a physical journey and a physical pursuit ever since of health. And
Great.
so, man,
Good.
I really appreciate and value that. That's a good story. Do you have any others?
Well, I mean, there's lots of stories. I of course tease you and have great sympathy for you as a Cowboys fan, and I hope not to offend any of your listeners, because you really have a problem that can't be solved.
No,
right?
That's true. Yeah.
And but I would always say something negative about the Cowboys whenever I'd walk by your office when you were at Crossroads.
That hasn't stopped. God brings me people like you in every season of life that I'm in to tease me about being a Cowboys fan. And I told, I don't think I've told you this yet, but not last year, they didn't make the playoffs, but the year before when they lost to the Green Bay Packers in the first round, I just said, I'm done. I'm not done as a loyal fan. I'm done having hope. There's no hope left. It's just squashed now.
You thought your expectations couldn't go any lower, but you lowered them even more.
I lowered them even more. Level. Yeah. So I am through. One of the things I love about you is you have had such a passion for men and for men being godly men in their marriages specifically. And you've worked with a lot of marriages over the years. And so I wanted you to share with people who may be listening to this that are in different seasons of marriage. Like what's a good word that you would share to someone, advice of people who are engaged or having just gotten married, and then we'll go from there. But first start with that. Like if someone who's engaged, getting ready to get married, but they just got married, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, for newly engaged couples, the best advice I would give you is get premarital counseling. Yeah. And it's amazing how, and I've seen this dynamic work where it seems like nothing to spend $800, $1,000 on a wedding cake, which lasts, very briefly. But that investment in premarital counseling suddenly seems so expensive, but it's worth it. And I would encourage any engaged couple to get some at least 4 to 6 sessions of pre-marriage counseling, because we all have stuff. We all come into a relationship with some degree of baggage, and a good pre-marriage counselor, as well as a good assessment. And the one that I use was developed by Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott. It's called SYMBIS, SYMBIS. It's an acronym that stands for Save Your Marriage Before It Starts. It's a very good assessment to walk through that looks at your family history, that looks at your marriage personality, that looks at just little tasks like who's going to mow the lawn and who's going to wash the dish, all those kinds of things. So I would highly recommend for those that are in that seriously dating, pre-engagement or engagement season of life to invest in some premarital counseling.
That's so good. Yeah, you're going to spend so much money on, in all reality, a party that happens one night, and then you're now married. Like having the wedding is the easy part. It's starting off a marriage successfully in a healthy way is the tough part. What about someone who's married and it's going great? They're in a good season. They're like, my marriage is awesome. I don't even need to think about marriage right now.
Yeah. Well, I would always encourage, because I think guys can sometimes rate it higher than females do. So I would say to the men, like, well, ask your wife how she would rank it. Dave and Ann Wilson, who host the podcast Family Life Today, at one point they asked, him what he thought, and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to say a 10, so a 9," and she said a 2. So sometimes there's a disparity in how each person in the marriage would rank the marriage. But for those who are in a good place, I would say There is no such thing as neutral gear in marriage. So if you think you're drifting, if you think you're coasting, you're actually drifting apart. Unless you're intentionally doing something to stay connected, you are passively drifting apart. And one of the ways that my wife and I have tried to mitigate that is, and it was harder when our kids were younger to do like a date night. It just didn't work out well. You have to do a babysitter and all this. So years ago, we switched to Friday at lunch dates. So the kids were in school, so we're not taking anything away from the kids. And we would just meet and we still do this. And like, unless there's a nuclear threat, like nothing moves the Friday lunch date off the calendar. And one of our rules is we don't talk about work and we don't talk about the kids. And if you've been married for a while, it's like, what else is there to talk about? So I bought I've got 2 boxes of cards. One's called Deeper Connections for Couples. The other one is called Talking Points for Couples. You don't have to prepare anything. We just grab one of these boxes and it's got cards in it with questions like, what was the best Christmas gift you ever got as a kid? Or where's one destination you'd like to visit in the world? Or if you could have dinner with any person from history, alive or not, who would that be? It's just fun, get to know each other kind of questions. And so we've done that for years. And for a couple that is that things are going well, I would say just continue to invest, continue to date, and make sure that you're not drifting apart unintentionally.
That's good. That's good. What about those that are struggling? They're in a bad season. They're barely holding on.
Yeah, for those that are struggling, I first want to say you're not alone. There's a lot of marriages that are struggling. There's a lot of effort that our enemy puts into dividing marriages. And marriage is the relationship that Jesus uses to give us a glimpse of that divine reflection of his relationship with us, the bride of Christ. And so it's not a surprise that the enemy attacks it. So if your marriage has been under attack, like I said, just know that you're in good company. Number one, there's some statistics that are thrown out there that says, did you know that the divorce rate is no different in the church than it is in the secular world? And when you drill down a little further, that's not exactly true. And when you, first of all, there's lots of people that raise their hand and say, I'm a Christian, but are they truly following Christ? So there's that factor. But beyond that, there is one thing that moves that ratio from 1 in 2 to about 1 in 1,200. And that one singular thing is couples that pray together. One thing. So if a couple that's struggling has to pick one thing to do, I would say pray together. And most couples don't pray together. In fact, most pastors who are married don't necessarily even pray with their spouses. And these don't have to be necessarily long prayers, but even regardless of what's said, when 2 people choose to pray together, they're acknowledging that this isn't my will versus your will. We're both going to submit to one who is higher than us. And so for those that are struggling, if you have to do one thing, do counseling, do get help. But I would say, please, just, even if it's 30 seconds or less, start to pray together daily.
That's great. That's really good. That's gold, Paul. When we did our mentoring group, I remember you talking us through this, but I don't remember what all of the points were. And so I remember like 2 or 3 of them, which is sad. But you said that there are 4 to 5 things every woman needs, and 1 to 2 things men need. Do you remember this?
I do.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. And so
Yes.
can you recap that again? I would love to have people hear that, because not being able to remember everything, it makes it sound like it wasn't meaningful to me. It was, but I'm trying to remember all of the points. So go for it, man. Just deliver
Sure,
that
yeah.
like it was yesterday.
Yeah, these are generalities. So please understand that, if there's a need that I list for a female that the male needs more,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
And these are just generalizations. But I would say we'll start with her needs for the female, and I would say that the number one need that a female has is the need for security. And I think that comes in two forms: relational security as well as financial security. I think in terms of finances, usually one's the spender, one's the saver, but oftentimes, women are wondering, are we going to be okay? In terms of money and that stability. And I think with relational security, there's two types of that as well. There's internal and external. And internal relational security is a wife is wondering, is my husband safe? Is he a safe person for me to disclose my heart to? Or does he take the things that I share and then store them up and then use them as ammunition against me in an unguarded moment later on? She wants to know, is he safe? And also, is our marriage safe from an external threat? At every wedding, the pastor says something along the lines of, what God has brought together today, let no one separate. And that means you, mother-in-law. That means you, Uncle Joe. That means you. But oftentimes, even though everybody's head is nodding, they end up getting in the business of the couple and can be a dividing wedge. And so she wants to know, is our relationship safe from external threats? So that's number one, is security. Is our relationship secure? Number two for her, I think, is conversational companionship. One of the most common complaints that women have is, my husband won't talk to me. And there's reasons why. By and large, females are verbal processors and males tend to be internal processors. So women often will think aloud, and males sometimes need quiet to think. And I don't know what the exact numbers are, Si, but they say, on average, women speak 75,000 words a day, men speak 25,000 words a day. So that sometimes at the end of the day, when a husband and wife come together, he's out of words and she's just getting warmed up. So I think that's a dynamic that is just making sure for us as husbands in particular, keep a reserve of listening energy available for your wife. Don't come home already depleted. Keep a reserve there for conversational companionship. So that's number two. Number three is significance. And this is best defined as women are often wondering, does what I do matter? Am I noticed? Do my contributions to my marriage, to my kids, are they appreciated? And she can hear yes from her mom or her sister, but she really wants to hear it from the man of her life who says, yes, what you do matters so much, and I'm so grateful for it. And I think as husbands, we can communicate this in one of two ways. One is compliments. We can say, that was, you did a great job, with the kids. You cooked a delicious meal. I can tell you weeded the landscape. Whatever it is, that's about a compliment is about a task completed, and that's fine. But I think what women also need to hear are words of affirmation, which is not about what she did, but about who she is. And to say, you're a great wife. You're a fantastic mom. I see so much value in you. And a woman's heart is longing to hear both of those, not just compliments, but also those words of affirmation. And that speaks to her significance.
I want to add, I feel like that need is so elevated in the season when, or if this is happening in your marriage, where for us, it was when Monica stayed home with the kids and they were, not age ready for school yet. They were at home, they were babies, they were toddlers. And every single day she's cleaning up, spit up and changing diapers and doing the dishes and the laundry, doesn't leave the house. And it's just is my day wasted? Wasted. It feels like I just wasted the whole day, or I just barely got through the whole day surviving, just keeping this little kid alive, and basically I made every need that they have. I feel like that season, that question is elevated.
I
that
agree,
role
and
of
I think
significance.
those are hard years, those
Those,
infant and
yeah.
toddler and kind of pre-kindergarten years, and whatever a young husband can do to speak life
Hmm.
into his wife, whether she's working outside of the home or doing just staying at home with the kids, she needs to hear a lot of affirmation.
Yeah,
Not about just the good job that she did, but also about who she is and the value that she has.
that's good.
So yeah, that's speaking to her significance. And then the last one. So again, one is security, two is conversational companionship, three is significance, number four is affection. And affection speaks to that non-sexual touch. It's a reassuring touch, reaching over while you're driving, holding her hand, just putting your hand on her back. It's touch that doesn't demand anything in return. And as men, we sometimes, or I'll say often, or can be guilty of hoping that it leads to more. But she just needs reassuring touch and affection, and that can really go a long way in just blessing her. So I'm not saying that those are the only four needs of women, but if a husband will do those four, I think he has a pretty good shot of his wife giving him at least an A or a B plus in their marriage.
That's good. I've heard even the non-sexual affection or physical touch, like on a scale of like 1 to 10, and if like uh let's say 1 is the highest, if that was like sexual intimacy, and 10 is like okay, hand on the shoulder, and 9 is a hug, and 8 is a kiss. That you need as many of those touches as numbers, and so it's like you
Mm.
need 10 just hands on the shoulder touches, 8 little kisses, or 8 hugs and 5 kisses. You need to be able to try to have that amount of non-sexual contact each day. Not like you said, not hoping that you get to number 1, but
Mhm.
just that she feels that affection in other ways besides only looking for sex. That's good. What about for men?
Yep. So for men, I would actually say that number one is the same. I think men need security as well.
Hmm.
We can be woefully insecure,
Hmm.
and so whatever our wives can do just to reassure us and speak those words of affirmation to us, I think are appreciated. Um, Number two, I would say, is recreational companionship. I think, and a lot of times couples will do fun stuff together before they get married. Um, Biking, hiking, bowling, wherever the recreational fun was. And then just because of the demands of life, marriage, and of course with children, a lot of couples forget how to have fun. But I think for men, this is important. I think men like to have a recreational companion, whether that's and a lot of couples don't necessarily enjoy doing the same things. Not all women like to golf or fish, things that traditionally men like to do. But there are ways to find recreational fun that both the husband and wife enjoy. And I think sometimes females can underestimate just that her husband wants her as a recreational companion, and there's just fun stuff to do, and that can be just a fun journey. Is like what else do we like to
What
do?
is that?
You know,
My mom,
yeah, it might be pickleball, might be
yeah.
yeah, whatever it might be.
I remember my mom asking my dad, like, "Hey, what like on this topic? Like, what is something that you would like to do together?" And he said, "I just sometimes want you to come sit down and watch the Dallas Cowboys play a football game with me." And she said, "You could." She said, "I would rather poke my eye out with a spoon than sit down and watch a whole football game." But that for him was recreational companionship.
Yeah, well, in your poor mom just didn't understand. Like Cowboys fans need their hands held. Like
The whole game.
there's a yeah, there's a legitimate emotional need there.
That's funny.
So yeah, I think recreational companionship is important. And then number three, and it doesn't come as a surprise, but it deserves a caveat, is sex, because sex has been so hijacked by the enemy, so hijacked by our culture. So many women come into marriage with some type of sexual trauma that I don't in any way want to be cavalier about this or glib. because while it is a strong felt need for males, it's something to be handled very carefully and cautiously, never in a demanding way. And I would say that sex is a way that a man feels close to a woman. And there are even biological reasons for this. Oxytocin is that bonding chemical, and females tend to release it more frequently. They can release it during a cup of coffee with a friend, or holding a baby. Men don't release oxytocin as frequently, but the one act that it does happen in a surge is through the sexual act. And it is how a man really feels close to his woman. Like, she may feel close to him through conversation. He feels close to her often through sexual intimacy. So I do think that is a legitimate need, and it's good for the couple too, just to connect in that way. It is the God given, ordained way for connecting between a husband and a wife.
That's good. Thank you for sharing those things. And those, as you shared those, each of them, I can see in our marriage and in the marriages I've worked with. Those are the things that continue to cycle through as the unmet needs, as the poorly managed expectations of how that need would be met, or what life would look like, and it isn't met. Then there fills that gap, regret and remorse and bitterness and anger, or whatever those things are. Some people who might be listening to this aren't married and may never get married. But what are some of the things that, just like advice for healthy relationships? I'm single, they've been divorced or have lost a loved one. What are some ways in which principles that they can apply to just any healthy relationship that they might have?
Yeah. First, I want to just speak to the nobility of singleness, because the Bible speaks to the nobility of singleness.
That's right.
And I think in our evangelical Christian Western world, marriage is very highly elevated. It's very highly expected, I would even say, among Christian leaders in particular. But it hasn't always been that way. Of course, Jesus was single. Paul was single. There's lots of reasons why the single life is a noble life. So I just wanted to just drop that in there, that there's maybe some who almost feel like, gosh, do I have a deficiency because I'm single? And I would say, no, absolutely not. In fact, you may make some of the greatest contributions to the kingdom as anyone because of your singleness. And so a single life can still be a very meaningful life. I will say, I do not think that singleness and loneliness are the same thing. Singleness does not equal loneliness. So, but I do think it may require a little bit of a different type of effort for singles to be in good community with others, and a little bit more effort. And so I think just being connected, especially in the context of church, to other believers through something as organized as a small group, or something as informal as just having friends who are other singles or married couples with kids, spending time with them. We've had that historically, had singles both in our small group and just come over and hang out with us. And we like that. And so just an encouragement to those who are single, that does not mean loneliness. And I certainly hope that you have just some very rich relationships in your life. And I don't know if there's any better place to experience those than in the local church.
Yeah, that's so good. That's such a good word. I have family members who've been single their whole lives, never been married, never had kids. And I've always really respected my parents in how one of the things they did is they just invited aunts and uncles to come with us on our family vacations. Like, you're part of the extended family too. Like, come along with us. One of our mutual friends is Todd Bussey, and the bus man, as you would like to call him, he
Right.
was single till he was 40, I think. And I saw
42. You got
42.
married at 42. Yep.
And there's a family at our church at Crossroads, several families that go on vacation together, and they invited Todd to come with them and their kids and each other on vacation. And so just if you're married, having eyes for people that are single, and if you're single, having eyes for people that are married, and being a good friend to a guy who's married, you can do that. If you're single, your friends can be married people, right? It doesn't have to just be other single people too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also say for those who are listening who are single but looking for a mate.
Yeah.
I heard this analogy one time, and kind of back to the 5K theme is a good way to look for a mate is imagine yourself jogging, you're out running, and you don't want to match up with the person who's running in the opposite direction, or who's cutting across, or who's way up there, just when you hit your pace, just look to the right and to the left, and who's running towards Jesus at about the same pace and rate that you are. And the analogy I'm sure breaks down in some ways, but I thought that's a good way to just think about who am I looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I looking for in life and as a mate? And I realized that the world has changed a lot in the last 29 years since Emily and I got married, in terms of ways that people meet one another and the online world and all of that. And I don't claim to be an expert on all that, but I think just continue to pray and to just run towards the Lord and look around and see. You're going to probably notice someone who's running about the same pace you are.
That's good.
And
what is a book, resource, podcast you would want to pass on to our listeners?
Yeah, I love the podcast Family Life Today, Family Life Ministries. Family Life Today used to be hosted by Dennis Rainey and Bob Lepine. It's now hosted by a couple named Dave and Ann Wilson, but it's an excellent podcast on marriage, raising kids, and it's just very, very good. And it's a daily podcast, about 30 minutes each day. As far as books, Sacred Marriage is a great book on marriage by Gary Thomas. He also wrote a great book called When to Walk Away, on how to handle toxic people in your life. And if any of your listeners are like, well, I'm a Christian, I don't have any toxic people in my life. It's like, well, you probably do. And so that's a really good book as well. So I'll mention Family Life Today podcast, as well as Gary Thomas's books, Sacred Marriage and When to Walk Away.
That's good. In no way are, everyone who speaks on a podcast have life all figured out and have it together. And I think you'd be the first to admit that. And so one of the things I like to ask people is just, what's God teaching you? How's he changing you? What are you learning? How's he forming you in the image of his son? What's that looking like today?
Yeah, that's a great question, Cy. And, I think one of the things that is a theme that's been coming up in my life, both in how I'm handling a situation or two personally, but also how I'm coaching some of our Standing Stone clients, is making the distinction between being a peacemaker and a peace faker. Jesus promises that, in as he's giving the Sermon on the Mount, Beatitudes, blessed are the peacemakers. But I think we often get caught in the trap of being peace fakers in Christian community, and we rather than doing the hard work of peacemaking, which involves sometimes confrontation and exercising repentance and exercising forgiveness and letting go of bitterness, we end up being peace fakers, where we think we're glorifying God by just mindlessly chirping, God is good all the time, and all the time God is good, and yeah, amen, but rather than just saying, this is difficult. And I think a lot of church hurt happens because a lot of leaders are under-equipped on how do I genuinely walk through a situation, even when it's hard, so that the result is a real peace and not a false peace. This can be true in marriage. This can be true in a coworker relationship. But I think that's a theme that I see coming up over and over is peacemaking being set to the side for peace faking, but it doesn't last very long. And so I really believe that the hard, heavy lifting of forgiveness, of repentance, which most Christians have not been taught how to do as a regular practice, as a spiritual practice, is the pathway to freedom and true peacemaking.
I love that. It reminds me of like what Patrick Lencioni says in his book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, that when you don't have trust, that's the first dysfunction, is the absence of trust. Well, that leads to the fear of conflict. And if you don't have trust, you won't have conflict. And when you don't have conflict, what you actually end up having is artificial harmony. It's not real. It's not real peace. It's artificial. It's not real harmony. It's artificial. And so that is a good word, Paul. That's good way to end on that. If people wanted to follow up with you, they want to get in contact with you about Standing Stone Ministry, wanted to learn more, wanted to start seeing you as a counselor, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah. So if they're interested in contacting me personally, they can email me at paul.linge, and that's Linge, at standingstoneministry.org. You can also go to the Standing Stone website, because you may have listeners from across the country, which is standingstoneministry.org. And on the homepage is a button that says Connect with a Shepherd. And if your listener would like to connect with somebody who's maybe closer to where they are locally, they can do that, and they will get a response from someone at Standing Stone about that maybe can minister to them person to person. We do both. Emily and I do. We meet with most of who we meet with is in person here in the Evansville tri-state area. We also have some international clients that we do virtually. But yeah, they can go to standingstoneministry.org, click on Connect with a Shepherd, and that will get them connected as well.
Thank you so much, friend, for your time today, for sharing from your heart and your experience, the wisdom that you have in this key relationship of marriage and just in life. Really appreciate you. And it's been awesome catching up, man. It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you, Sai, so much for having me. And I'm so grateful for your influence in my life as well, and wish you and all of your team all the best in your church plant. I know that there's even brighter days ahead for you.
Thanks, man. If you enjoy this content, you want to hear more, please like, comment, or subscribe. We are on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. We'd love to keep up with you in that way. And as always, remember, you are made for more, so don't settle for anything less. Have a great day.